Is it on? You're talking, but I can't hear you. I see. Yeah, yes, I see your mouth moving, but I cannot hear you. What? Oh. Yes. Thank you. Well, hello. My name is Mr. Roed, and I have lived in the closet for quite some time. I'm definitely a bit older than the other friends, but I do tell a good story, and was very excited to come meet you. It's lovely to see you all here. Well, I can't really see you, but I know you're there, and I would love to tell you a bedtime story. Would that be okay? I do hope so. See, when I go to bed, I always give thanks to all the things that happened to me that day. I thank you for my family, and thank you for the blanket that I have in my bed, the food that I have in my tummy, and all the wonderful things I got to do that day. Sometimes it's not always such a fun day, but there are experiences, and I get to experience lots of things in a given day, even in a closet. So, I wanted to tell you one of my favorite stories that I used to tell my children when they were just a wee bit tall. And it is called The Waterfall of Dreams. And before we do that, I would love it if you were to, pardon me, acid reflux, not fun. I would like to invite you to get cozy. Wherever you are, on the couch, in your bed, laying on the floor, just get cozy, nice and cozy. Scooch yourself down into your chair or your couch or your bed. Get nice and cozy for the story. If you may, take a couple of breaths with me. And just relax. And now I want to tell you about the Waterfall of Dreams. You see, in a kingdom far, far from here, in a time long ago, there was a king and a queen, and a prince and a princess that lived in the kingdom of Roed. It was far from here, long ago. I know I mentioned that, but I'm mentioning it again because it wasn't yesterday and it's not just down the street. Now, in that kingdom, as I mentioned, there was a prince and princess, and they were two wonderful, wonderful children. They were very happy children. You know, in most kingdoms, the prince and the princess are, well, somewhat unhappy, because the king must rule with an iron fist, and must be mean to certain people to make sure that order is restored. But you see, this kingdom was ruled with love and happiness. They were good to all the people of the kingdom. The king and queen did not ask for luxury things. No, they ate the same food that all the people in the kingdom ate, from the same garden that all the food was grown. The prince and princess did very normal things. They played in the courtyard, and they had many friends, and they were such good kids, they were allowed to go out of the castle by themselves. They both had horses, and they loved their horses. They just spent most of their days taking care of the horses and playing with them and riding them. The princess was the older of the two, and her horse's name was Macho Camacho. He was a big, brave, fast horse, he sure did love the princess. And the prince, well, he had a very, very fast horse, the fastest horse in the kingdom, indeed. And his horse's name was Turbo. The prince and princess would ride and see their friends. They would go to the forest. They would go to the river and play in the water. And sometimes, on very special days, they would go to their favorite place in all the kingdom, the Waterfall of Dreams. And the day that I want to tell you about is indeed one of those days. Are you cozy? I hope you're still cozy. Make sure you're nice and cozy and relaxed. You can even close your eyes and listen to the story. Well, it was a beautiful day in the summer, many, many years ago, when the prince and princess decided it was time to go to the Waterfall of Dreams. They hadn't been for 2 or 3 months. And as the case, it was a long day to go all the way up to the Waterfall of Dreams, so it would be a long ride. So in the morning, they went down to the kitchen and packed a very big lunch with snacks and water bottles and fruits and veggies. Then they went to the stables and they got their horses and fed them some snacks and brushed them off, nice and easy. And even when they told the horses where they were going that day, you could see that the horses were excited. So they got on their horses and rode out of the courtyard, over the drawbridge, across the moat, across the big, big grassy area, into the forest, and through the meadow that's in the middle of the forest, and down to the river. It was a warm day, so they stopped and played in the water for a little while. It was fun to splash around and play in the water. And after a while, they sat on the bank of the river and let the warm sun dry them off. The sun felt like a very nice warm blanket as they laid down and dried off from the water. They decided then to get back on the horses and start to ride around to the backside of the mountain. And when they got to the backside of the mountain, they stopped. They gave their horses snacks, some carrots and apples and celery. They gave the horses some water, and they had a snack themselves. And then they got back on their horses and started the trek up the mountain. They don't go very fast up the mountain, because as you can imagine, it's very steep and the horses can't run the entire way up the mountain. So as they rode up the mountain, it was very peaceful. They would always hear the birds off in the distance. A soft gust of wind would come by, and as they would go up the mountain, the view of the kingdom would get so wonderful, bigger and bigger, and the trees and the houses on the ground would get smaller and smaller. They would ride up and up and up until they would get to the very top of the mountain. And this is where they would always stop first. They would stop at the top of the mountain and look out at all of the kingdom. They would see the castle in the distance and all the houses of the people that lived in the villages, the forest and the meadow, the river at the very, very bottom. Birds would fly by, the wind would blow, and it would be so beautiful. And after they took that in, they would ride around to the back side of the top of the mountain. And that was their favorite place, because at the top of the mountain, just below the very tippy-top rocks was a little waterfall. They would always unpack and enjoy a nice lunch, just sitting there, listening, just listening to the flow of the water that would trickle into the pool of water that was forming where the water came down. They would eat their lunch, they would feed their horses, and then they would lay down on a rock they each found. You see, the rocks at the top of the mountain were quite large, and because there was a waterfall, there was moss on a lot of the rocks. So they would get nice and cozy and curl up on one of those soft, mossy rocks. They would start to close their eyes and just listen to the sound of the waterfall. Just listen to the sound of the waterfall. And soon enough, they would drift off to sleep. And as they would sleep, they would start to dream. And the princess would dream of cute, cuddly little puppies and unicorns flying in the air, soft, marshmallowy pillows. The prince would dream of soft, cuddly puppies as well, flying on a large bird, jumping on a dolphin in the ocean. They would dream and dream. They would dream for quite some time as they napped there. And eventually, one of them would wake up. But they would not wake the other. No, they would take their time to sit and look at the birds in the sky. And eventually, the other one would wake up. They would look at the birds in the sky. And the horses would wake up. They would all yawn. And they would have a drink of water. And then they would get back on their horses. And they would start to ride slowly back down the mountain. Once they would get to the bottom of the mountain, they would ride across the river, into the meadow, through the forest, back into the castle. They would take the horses to the stable and brush the horses down, feed them some more carrots, apples. Then they would go in to their castle and see their mother and father, tell them about their wonderful adventure of the day. One of their best days indeed. Prince and Princess loved going to the Waterfall of Dreams. And I hope you have a wonderful night and dream of all the wonderful things that you want to dream of. Because you're loved, you're special, and you are a gift. I thank you for you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night. Make sure you tell your mommy and daddy, thank you for all you do for me. Good night.